Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. Yeah, you thought 007 Road to a Million was put to bed for now until the next season. You would be wrong. We have a very, very special treat. We've got a father and son team. I think your favorite father and son team in the Bond era. We're going to talk about that, but let's get them on right away without further ado. Hello there, James and Sam. How are you today?
Hi, doing very well, David. How are
Hi,
you?
David. Welcome to Ireland.
It's a pleasure to have you all the way from Ireland. And by the way, I've got to ask you first and foremost, is that a staircase in the background or escalators? What is that?
It's wallpaper, but it's meant to look like the London Underground, I think.
It's very skyfall. Like I'm expecting you to slide down that at any moment, which you guys could do. First of all, I've got to start off by saying, as somebody that has, I'll say older kids, not to say that you're a kid, Sam, but older kids, I loved the dynamic between the two of you, especially because I think this show, more than any other grouping, actually focused on your relationship. So, Sam, let's start with you. How important was it that really the father and son relationship was showed in the show?
Oh, I was so happy whenever the edit came out. It was like it focused on our relationship more than our adventure. I just felt very honored, because with my dad, he works offshore, so we've had like a lot of time apart. So this was like really making up for some lost time together. And there's just no one else I would have rather experienced like such an awesome journey with. 100%.
I mean, James, how warm does that make you feel?
Do you know what? It was totally awesome because just being on the show gave us time together, intense time together for a prolonged period. We were doing adventurous stuff, and we got so much time to talk and catch up and get to know each other at a deeper level. Because Sam is my son; he's my child. However, on this adventure, I got to see the man in him. I got to see my son as an adult, and we wouldn't have got past the first challenge without him. And the first challenge didn't even make the edit. It's not even in the show. But without him, we wouldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it without him.
What was the first challenge? I love hearing cutting room floor.
Well,
discussion.
okay.
What was the first one?
In total, we come in on episode 4, and through to episode 7, and it comes in at the tail end of our second challenge. Mm-hmm. So our first challenge was not dissimilar to the other first challenges that you see. We had to scramble up through a forest and cross a mountain in Scotland, and then actually we had to swim across a loch. It was freezing cold. Wow. We had to jump in with our clothes and swim across this loch to get to the other side. And on the other side, there was a tree that we had to climb, and I couldn't have done it. When there was a rope there, we threw the rope up, and Sam jumped on my shoulders, climbed up this tree, and that's where we got our first question. But it didn't appear. It didn't make the edit because obviously, there was 9 contestant pairs. They can't show 9 contestant pairs all doing something similar in Scotland. That one didn't make the edit.
Maybe I'm an N of 1, but I actually would have liked to have seen that because to me, it's a duo type situation, but it's a very James Bond situation, figuring out those resources. I think the show, and I did a review of it, but there were some things I really liked and some things I thought could be tweaked, showing some of the issues and the obstacles and the challenges, even in smaller chunks, I think would have been nice.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't an easy challenge, that one. But we threw ourselves at it. I would have liked to see more struggle, especially seeing in Chile when I was taking that hole. It must have taken about 2 hours, and it was condensed into like a 20-second little thing. But
it looks like you had superhuman powers. It's like there's a hole.
I have to say, actually, I dug half that hole. They never showed me lifting the spade once. They made it look like I was just a lazy dad going, "Go on, son, keep digging."
Editing can really make people look like a bad guy. What the heck? Yeah, because I'm standing here, and I said the same thing to to Josh and Kamara, I'm like, there were so many times where they made Josh look like this, guy who's like sending his wife into the peril, and he's like, listen, it's good editing. Trust me.
It is. It is.
Guys, I want to go back to the beginning of the journey because I'm finding it very interesting to find out from a lot of contestants that they applied to this show not even knowing that it was a James Bond show. Was that your situation as well?
Yeah, that's right. So I when I was I remember when Sam was young, I was quite unfit. I was bending down to put my socks on, and I was huffing and puffing, making old man noises. And we've been watching Bear Grylls, and he was hanging off the side of a mountain, pulling himself up. And Sam said to me, "Dad, you sound like Bear Grylls putting your socks on." And so we were watching Bear Grylls over the Christmas period, and I was saying to Sam, "Oh, Sam, we could totally do something like that. We got to get ourselves on a TV show. I'd love to do an adventure with you." And then my phone, just an advert popped up on my phone
on Facebook,
on the Facebook, and said, "Would you like to be in an adventure reality TV show?" And so I just responded. Now I can't even remember doing it because it was like several weeks later. I got a phone call saying, "Hi, we want to audition you for the show." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And like, "Yeah, you've applied to be on this show." I was like, I couldn't even remember it, but we didn't know it was James Bond. We were just told it involves travel, adventure. We got to be up for anything. And I was like, "Sign me up, bring my boy."
Yeah. Were you ever told it was James Bond? Because one of the things that, again, this is all about peeling layers after the show's now out, that some people recognized it as James Bond when they saw a DB5 in front of them, etc. But the way it's edited, it almost seems like you guys have never seen a James Bond film before. And I know you guys are big fans, actually.
Well, it's at the point that filming commenced, everyone was aware that it was a James Bond film.
Yeah,
but it was just throughout the audition process we weren't told.
Yeah, okay. I think we've been told the title of the show by then, but just before our initial interview on camera, which you will see. I think you have a couple of scenes where you're interviewed with I don't know, lights and stuff in the background.
So at some point during the show itself, when you're doing the challenges, like I'll take the train, which I think there's actually some iconic moments that will last for decades where you're like, get on the train and you look at each other. That's like right out of a Bond film. Do you say to yourselves, do you look at each other and go, this is so James Bond, or this is so Skyfall?
Honestly, right. Our very, very first experience, we got a text that said, "Be ready, Monday, 9 a.m. So on Monday, 9 a.m., we were sat on this chair and we didn't know what was going to happen. A car pulled up outside our house. We went out to the car. He took us to the airport. We got out the car. Sam got a text saying, Sam got a phone call saying, "Is that Sam?" He's like, "Yeah, come into the airport, have your passports and mobile phones ready." When we went into the airport, there was a guy there with a box. He opened the box, took our mobile phones, locked the box, took our passports. That was the beginning of our adventure. And from that moment, we were in the game. Like we were James Bond from that moment onwards,
Did you have clothes with you or anything? Or
we were previously briefed. Say, have a backpack with a spare pair of pants.
Well, I got to ask you too, clothing wise, because I mean, my gosh, you see some of these people in the show dressed to the nines with fancy Bogner things and Omega watches. Were you given clothing at some point?
We weren't given as nice clothing as the other groups. They got nice suits and everything, but we got like a leather jacket. That leather jacket that I'm wearing in Chile, that was given to us. So it's pretty nice. So I still have it.
That was a gorgeous. It reminded me of something like Ethan Hunt would wear from like one of the Mission Impossible films.
Yeah.
Did you know? Yeah, go ahead.
No, it totally suited the environment well. I feel like I felt like a proper like action character in it.
Yeah, and I've got to ask, as you talk about this adventure that you went on that brought you closer together, how long were you actually out and about doing this?
So our longest trip was Chile. So in between each like level, so the Scotland level and the Italy level and the Chile level, we would come back home for a couple of weeks. But our longest time actually, like on location, I think Chile was 10 days or something.
It was about 10 days.
Yeah.
And you know, when you watch a show, they like squeeze it in, you make it all think it all happened like that. But you know, there was so much edited out. For example, when we got off the train, it was getting dark and we had to hitchhike to get to the town where we go and find that
radio
scanner,
the laser gun,
and we spent the night in this bar. Like the only place that was open in the town was this bar. We turned up and the locals were having a party, and we just sat and had a few beers and had some food, and then we spent the night there. And
oh my gosh!
Like obviously, you know, none of that made the show, but it was, there's a night we camped out under the stars, but in the show it just goes like that. But for us, it was a 10-day adventure.
That's what I think made the viewer, like me, the fan, scratch their heads, because there's one part in the very beginning, I think it's in episode 4, where you're in a truck and then you're running somewhere and then you're in a boat, and it looks like, Sam, it looks like you're using like some sort of like Tupperware or something like that to paddle. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? But those are long expanses of time.
Yeah, to be fair, that thing that you see, that sequence that you see in episode 4, our beginning, that was all in one day, but it did take the full day to complete that whole thing. And the Tupperware, the boat, when we got in it, it started this like cartoon style leak where like water was like pouring upwards out of it. So I was like using the Tupperware to scoop it out and stuff like that.
We'd been at the start of every adventure, we had to find a phone box, and the telephone would ring. We'd listen to the phone, we got a message.
Right.
And that's how we started our adventure. So we were told to go and find this place called Badicro, find, what was it called? Green Island or Dry Island. And they said there'd be a white boat ready for us. So when we arrived there, we got to the jetty, we saw these lovely boats, but none of them were white. And the only white boat was this thing that was sinking and falling to bits. And the paddle that I had actually broke in half. As I started to paddle, it broke in half. And
that's why it was so short.
Yeah, that's why he sees.
Of course.
Yeah, and I think the show probably has got some amazing footage, but because it was the first time they've done something like this.
Yeah,
there was 9 contestant pairs. There's only 8 episodes. They just got to squeeze it down, and I guess a lot of the experiences that everyone had never made the edit. But it was all fantastic, and it was all very, we constantly felt like Spectre was on our back. There was always, because it was a reality TV show, we always had drones following us. There was always a drone following us. And you can't get in, you're just waiting for it to open up a machine gun on you or something like that.
Well, yeah, there's this one shot, I think it's after you come back. It's probably in Italy, I think, when you're going to the raceway. Yeah. And you do the raceway challenge and everything like that, which, by the way, I mean, what a tease that is, that you're under the gun for timing and you want to spend time there because you get VIP access. Was that almost hurtful to you guys?
Unfortunately, we're not massive F1 fans, so I think it was kind of wasted on us. We were just like running about, didn't really know much at all, like rubbing shoulders with people who are like really talented and famous, and we just didn't know who they were. It
was pretty mind blowing. We were in the pit, we were in the pits at the F1, and we walked past Ferrari and. We were there with the F1 drivers, and we got to go through the Aston Martin garage at their pit stop. With the F1 car sitting there. It was surreal. It was very surreal.
Maybe it's better that you didn't know who you were walking by and you weren't doing fanboy moments, because it would have slowed you down, of course.
Yeah, we might not have made it to the question. That's right.
By the way,
I have to say that particular scene, we were absolutely exhausted. Exhausted because we've been running around. You don't capture it in the show, but we've been running around frantically as fast as we could. The clock's ticking, and we don't want to go out. We don't want to, we don't want to lose the challenge.
Yeah.
And so we're just desperate to get there. And when we finally arrived there, when we were running round the oval, we maybe ran for about a mile.
Right.
And we were flat out. The helicopter that was filming the race came off from the Formula One track and then started tracking us as we were running.
Oh,
and so
gosh.
that shot that you see was filmed by the Formula One helicopter. It wasn't a drone. It was the Formula One helicopter following
just like in a Bond film.
The oval.
Just like in a Bond film. Then you really feel like specters, Jason.
We were waiting to get the red dots on our forehead and the machine guns to come out.
That would have been genius if they had done that. Well, all right. So I have a confession. I thought that the two of you were treated in the most cruel way by the show producers, and I'll tell you why. Every time you could sit down and have a beer and a snack or some food, you either got a phone call or a loudspeaker would happen. You had those delicious burgers. I was envious of those burgers. You got the Bollinger chilling, and you're interrupted. But without hesitation, you guys jumped up. Is that because you were so in the challenge?
Yeah, I mean, like, as hungry as we were in Chile, we hadn't eaten for a long while. We arrived at those burgers. They were so tasty. But look, the hunger does not mean anything when we're on this mission. The only thing that mattered was getting to that question. So yeah, I was totally happy to leave half of a burger sitting there.
And I think you also had, I'll call it probably the most grateful ending. And Dad, I'll speak to you directly as a dad. You were wonderful because you want to be that, Sam's talking about you being this positive role model, the role model in his life. And instead of like breaking down or saying like, oh, we're gutted, you're like, you know what, let's go get that Bali. Let's go back and drink. And you guys
absolutely
look so happy.
No, absolutely. We clocked that. But we always said from the beginning, when we started this challenge, I was like, okay, Sam, we are not going to fail a challenge. We will do anything. But if we don't know the answer to a question, that's going to become a coin flip. If we don't know the answer to a question, that's what will catch us out. And we always knew that. We always had that attitude. And it was just, it was fantastic every day. Waking up with my boy and waiting to see what lay ahead and just driving on for the next goal. It was fantastic. And the most disappointing thing was, when it came to an end. However, it did end on a high. We won a lot of money. We'd spent a lot of time together. We did the adventure of a lifetime, and there was a bottle of Bolly chilling for us at the end. So,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
All right.
No
So that's part one to the journey. Let's talk about part two, because it does end. How long between it ending and you suddenly get a phone call saying, right, this is getting edited and it's going to be released and the whole engine starts?
Mm-hmm. Well, it must have been, I think it was almost exactly a year before we saw any, like before the premiere. So that was when we saw like the first full episode. And yeah, it was just like we had kind of forgotten about it, and then it was like we were given 2 weeks notice. Hey, there's this premiere here. You get a +1. Fly to London, organize everything. For one night, we're this like we're the like celebrities. It feels like of this thing. We're like cameras pushed in front of cameras and like next to a helicopter in the middle of London. It's just all crazy. But yeah, that whole process took about a year.
When that happened, when we went to the premiere. So yeah, the premiere was about a year after we'd finished.
Wow.
And we were just getting back into normal life. Both Sam and I work on commercial diving boats. So we're back to work, just back to work. We'd had our adventure. It was great fun. And the magnitude of it, when we turned up at the premiere and there was this helicopter there at the Battersea Power Station, and there was all the Bond cars and all the paparazzi were there in the red carpet. Everyone's wearing tuxedos. We dressed up in our kilts because we're Scotsmen. We dressed up in our kilts, and it was like, wow, yeah, this is a serious Bond moment, and it just it really had some impression on us.
Did you get to meet Barbara Broccoli by any chance?
We did. So I think she was one of the first people we got introduced to whenever we arrived for the premiere. So we kind of just got ushered around. And we were in this room filled with like all these contestants that we had like now seen on the trailers and stuff.
Yeah.
So we were introducing each other, and then like a little crowd parted, and Barbara Broccoli was ushered towards us and to meet us, and we were all polite. We were like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Sam," and he introduced himself as James, and she was like, "I know who you guys are. I've been watching your face for the past months in this edit." So that was really quite surreal.
Yeah, she was a very, very down to earth, approachable person. She was lovely. You know, she spoke to us like she knew us, like we were old friends. And it was quite humbling. You know, it was quite humbling to meet someone who is obviously a very, very influential person in the whole project.
Yeah.
And it was just, she was a lovely person.
I have to ask about the premiere too, because I'm getting the sense from you, the way you're describing this, that you hadn't seen the entire 8-episode series by the time you went to the premiere. Is that true?
We hadn't seen a single episode. We hadn't seen, in fact, we hadn't seen anything. We had not seen any video footage at all,
apart from the trailer and like a couple of the shorts that had been coming out on Instagram and such. But yeah, we were totally in the dark. So like whenever it came on in the cinema when we were watching it, it was just so surreal, and like everyone was in such a good mood, and everyone was laughing along with the contestants and everything. Oh, it was a nice way to do it, to be honest. Like the surprise wasn't wasted on us whenever.
Did they show all the episodes in the theater, or just 1 and 2?
In the premiere, they just showed 1 and 2, and
you didn't even know if you were going to be in it then.
Yeah. And to be honest, we were a bit nervous, because although you said that the production were mean to us with regards to food, but they were very generous to us with regards to the edit.
Yeah, I think
because there are other people, other contestants who just, almost their entire journey seems to have been left on the editor's floor.
Yeah, a few minutes.
And we got as far as the 100,000. Oh, maybe I'm not supposed to say that.
So you can. It's out.
So we got as far as we got,
yeah.
And they gave us an awful lot. They gave us an awful lot of time, to play out our story, and we're very grateful for that. However, I would say, like, some of the challenges seemed disproportionately easier. Like, for us to get to that question that we got to in Chile, we had to drive through the desert, jump on a moving train, climb across the roof, hitchhike to a city, a small town, spend the night in a bar, find the market, drive a Volkswagen in the desert, crash it, end up walking on foot throughout the night, then dig a hole throughout the night, and then sit and wait under the stars to be picked up by a Rolls Royce the following morning to take us to our burger. I mean, it was quite a long and arduous journey. And
I'll see your grouse and raise you a grouse, in the sense that as a fan watching this, almost everybody in the James Bond community said, you guys seem to have harder questions in general. Like, and I listen, I love all the contestants. So, to raise clearly what's a bear skull, or, the Scottish king, from Shakespeare. But I mean, you guys had like crazy questions to which you had to have just choose one. It was very difficult.
To be honest, this is where, like, although I got you past the first question doing that, climbing up the treehouse, it was the answering the question to the one in Italy with the volcano. Yeah. You totally nailed that, and I was totally wrong with that, and you totally like worked it out and saved us. So I was grateful to have him, to be honest, because I would not have got as far as we got.
I think we were quite lucky. I think because we work at sea, because we work on boats and we work at sea, you know, you can judge how, you know, you can judge how far away things are.
True.
You know, you can, yeah. So that particular question, I think we were lucky. But, you know, I was envious of the Bone Brothers when they got asked, what are the tasting notes to rum? By the way, here's a bottle of rum.
Yeah.
You know, how long is a snake? Here's a tape measure.
Yeah.
You know, how much does the spider weigh? Here's the scales. It's like, that's not really a question. You know, let's just like do it.
You guys got the sharper side of the tack for sure.
We're not complaining though. We're not complaining.
Look at you guys. You're all smiles.
It was all very fair. It really was. It was all very fair. And you know, we're kicking ourselves that I couldn't judge 70s fashion over 80s fashion, because that would have been
that was a coin toss. That was total coin toss.
Totally coin toss. Well, speaking of coins, gentlemen, I have to ask you towards the end here, did you have any guilty pleasure spends? I mean, you won quite a bit of money, obviously. Congratulations. So is there anything where you're like, well, listen, we're going to obviously save some of this, but you know what? Let's splash out a little bit here. Oh, what are those?
So because we both work on dive vessels, it's commercial diving, and all of the crew, everyone's into their watches and their dive watches. So Omegas and Rolexes are awash, and being Bond fans, you know, we're always into our watches, and we made a point of actually wearing a different watch in every episode. But these ones here, the company's called Enixon, and they specialize in iconic, stylish, handmade watches. They're perpetual movement, and
they're based in Belfast.
They're based in our hometown Belfast. So.
Do you have matching watches? Is that what I'm seeing?
Well, we do have matching watches, but the ones we got on today aren't matching. Yeah. But yeah, we've got a couple of these. We're a real fan. This will do 1,000 meters. This watch here will go to 1,000 meters. Yeah.
I love it. That's probably something I would have spent money on, watches. Just who doesn't love that? All right, gents, last question, but it's a really important one, and it's a pretty seismic one as well. You are forever, from now until you have great grandkids, you're now part of the 007 James Bond world. You truly are. I mean, this is like another adventure. There's a bad guy. You're the good guys. Does it ever hit you that you are officially part of the James Bond world? And what does that mean?
Oh, flip. I mean, yeah, not a lot of people can say that they've done a James Bond adventure. And I'm just so grateful that we can say we've done that. Like, who gets to jump on top of a moving train? Like, you can't even pay money to do that. You have to be part of these kind of adventure things. So yeah, I'm just so grateful to say that we're able to do that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. It's early days. The critics have come out and slammed the show, but the audience seems to love it. And at the end of the day, you know, Bond is for the audience, and you know, if the audience like it and enjoy it, that's fantastic. And it's it's wonderful to be one of the Jameses in a James Bond legacy.
It was destiny. Another James. There's room for both. Well, gentlemen, listen, thank you so much for being a part of this. Love your relationship. Love the aspect that you brought to 007 Road to a Million. And thanks for being on today.
David, thanks for having us.
Thank you, David.
My appreciation. And of course, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you all real soon. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.